Hi, my name's Troy Frazier. I'm a second-year beekeeper from Mermaid, Prince Edward Island. No one likes getting stung, and once you get past the sensation of getting stung every now and then, it actually gets a little easier. Going back to why I wanted to actually do this, just thinking back when I was a kid and seeing bees on the clover and trapping them with a jar and thinking I was going to get honey just from doing that. And then as I got older, realizing that, that they're so fascinating, and by nature, I love science in school, and I just loved biology and just loving nature and how bees can help everyone. And I've been lucky enough, after I've received my first few hives when I first started 2 months later, to finally have that beekeeper locally to ask these questions. What do I do here? Because you can read so many books, watch so many videos, and not know firsthand what it is you're doing or seeing. So bees are very diverse. Like they're used on PEI a great deal for pollination services, going into blueberry fields, cranberries, squash, any plant that requires an insect to pollinate it to produce a good fruit, a good yield. That's one revenue stream for bees. Obviously honey. Another byproduct is beeswax for cosmetics, lip balms. People are getting into propolis now. Propolis is like a tree sap glue that the bees will collect. It has some qualities in it that I'm yet to discover. Pollen is another thing. Pollen is a protein that the bees use in their hive, and we could collect it. We could farm it as well, and it could be used as spread on your yogurt or salad or something as a superfood, as a supplement. So there's many byproducts and purposes that a bee can provide you revenue with. Not only that, but like selling queens to other beekeepers locally, selling colonies to other beekeepers. So like there's many ways to make money from them, and there's many uses for them. There's 3 types of bees in a colony. There's the worker bee, which is the majority of all bees in the hive. There's the queen bee, obviously, which there's only one of, and she'll lay up to 1,500 eggs a day in the peak of the summer. The third type of bee in the colony is a drone bee. In the fall, they actually get kicked out and they die off. It's kind of like the survival of the colony, where if you're not needed for any single purpose, then they will eject you. Well, there's only one queen bee in a hive. There can only be one queen bee in a hive. She is very important because she's the only one that can produce more young. If a queen is not performing, if she's got a broken antennae, leg, wings messed up, the worker bees will notice that and they will actually evict her. They will create a new queen from that. So the process of making a new queen for honeybees is they will take an egg that is newly hatched. Eggs take 3 days to hatch, 72 hours, and between the time of it hatching up to about 24 hours, those eggs make the best queens, because they just become a larvae, and the bees will then feed a steady diet of royal jelly, nothing but royal jelly, and it'll create like almost like an ice cream cone. It'll create a wax covering all the way around the cell, and within 16 days that queen bee will emerge, and then it'll be labeled as a virgin queen. So then all the drones that we talked about earlier, the queen will then mate. That virgin queen will then leave the hive. Only one of 2 times the queen will leave the hive to mate with about 15 to 20 drones, and that'll happen over about 3 to 4 days. And then when she comes back, a few days later, she'll start laying eggs. Her ovaries will swell up and develop, and that's how a new queen is emerged and developed. I have close to 36 to 40 hives just in this 1 yard alone here. We want the entrances facing southwest, southwest, so that the sun is always shining on the front. And also with the north wind behind us, it provides shelter too. Like if you can set up your hive on a tree line that's facing south-southwest, you get more sunlight and the bees orient to the sun, and they're more active if the hive is heated up by the sun more too. So I got to stick my hive tool right in here, and this box is going to be quite heavy because it's probably 80% full of honey right now, and it can get up to about 100 pounds. See here that crack there? That's the propolis cracking the seal, kind of like the bee glue if you want to call it. Ugh. All right, so the queen is down in this part of the nest. I already went through these frames and I didn't see any brood or any eggs or anything like that. It's mainly all honey. So I'm gonna smoke these girls right now. And you wanna come a little bit closer here and you can hear them roar. All right. It's one reason why we try not to go into the hives too often. We try to get in there quick and out quick, because the more they're disrupted, the more time it takes for them to rebuild and repair any damage that I would have created just by being in the hive. So as a beekeeper, we have to just recognize the signals or the warnings or the emergency signs and then act on those as needed. One interesting aspect of bees and how they communicate with one another is called the waggle dance. A lot of kids probably know about this through kindergarten and grade 1, but even as a kid yourself, you may know bees, when they are out foraging, they find a very healthy food source. They get excited, of course. Then they'll come back to their hive and then they'll store the nectar or pollen that they gathered, and then they'll do what's called a waggle dance. It's basically their way of communicating to the other bees in the hive where to find this food source. Bees will orient to the sun. So as they come out of the hive, after learning what the waggle dance is, where the bee will be on the frame and they'll do like a figure 8 pattern dance. So the length of the figure 8, whether it's short or small, and the direction in which they do the dance will indicate distance and location. So which direction are they going to fly when they leave the hive, based off of what they learned from the waggle dance, and how far would they need to travel. So they don't know the exact like civic address, they just know the general idea. So like maybe there's a great big patch of dandelions in this field, they'll come back, do a waggle dance, and then all the bees all of a sudden will start flocking to that area. So it's a form of communication and it works really well. All this shiny, glossy stuff, that's nectar. And the reason why it's not capped over with wax, it's not completely dried out yet. The bees will take their wings and fan it and dry out the nectar, and then they'll cap it like you see right here in this corner with a wax capping. It's almost like a lid on the jar, and it preserves it, and honey will last forever. Right here, that's all honey. The whole frame is honey. It's all capped honey right here. So if I was to open this up a bit, you'll see some honey ooze out. Right there. The bees will come and cap that over again. See that one there? This is what they're gonna have for winter. Well, when I first started, I never expected to get this much honey from a harvest. I get into it for pollination, and it's just the nature of owning bees is that they'll create more than you need, and I have to pull it off the hives just to give them the space. So now it's September. Come November, December, I'll wrap my hives, and after that point, it probably won't be until January, February, where I may just come and take my infrared camera and check them out to see where they're at, but I won't touch them. I'll leave them right where they're at. And periodically, I'll just wipe the snow from the entrance so they have proper ventilation. And fingers crossed and lots of prayers that they do well through the winter.